Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit NA Qualifier number 6. I'm TJ, joined by Noxious.
Yeah,
You look very happy.
I am actually. I've had a really great day. Like games wise, I've really enjoyed what I've watched today. Since I've casted the other tournament, so pretty happy to be here. We just saw a pretty decent series between Boxception and his opponent Sukipan.
Mhm.
It's a little unfortunate for Boxception, but I mean it happens, right? You can't win them all.
Yeah, and you can see on your screen there the matchup was supposed to be Domtis versus Snugans, but unfortunately Domtis was didn't show up, was late,
Yeah.
so he was disqualified. He actually informed us that he would be late, but even the time that he gave us, he missed that too. So we put his match second to accommodate, but he didn't show up again. So he's going to move down to the third place match if he can get here in time for that. So he still has a chance to salvage it and get third place. But we are going to move on to the winners match. So this is the finals, basically. Snugans, who got the walkover win over Domdus because of the disqualification, versus Sukipan, who we just saw defeat Boxception. So looking at these players' lineups, it's almost the same, except Snugans has the Hunter in place of the Warrior.
I have to say I really like bringing Hunter. What I find peculiar, I guess, is that you're not bringing Warrior. But one of the reasoning, or like a part of the reasoning behind that, might be that because Grim Patron is so expected, everybody's going to be playing Handlock, and classes that play well against it. And if you bring your mid-range Hunter, suddenly beating Handlock is not unrealistic, and you can beat Control Warrior, which also is a good counter to Grim Patron that people might bring.
It's sort of the interesting meta evolution. People bring decks that counter Patron Warrior, and you can one-up them by bringing decks that counter the decks that counter Patron Warrior. You think people are going to bring a lot of Handlock, like you said, to counter the Patron Warrior, then you just bring mid-range Hunter to counter the Handlock. So it's pretty interesting how the tournament meta works, where sometimes that happens. But when it comes down to the finals, it's just all about how well you can play, because both of these players' lineups are tested throughout many best of fives. So it's going to be a grueling matchup.
Yeah, it's always like this. Usually, like when you start getting used to your opponents, or you've seen the deck list. In this case, these people have already, they've kept the same decks as before. Snugans might know what Sukipan's playing as a result of knowing what games were just played. So, I mean, you have a good information about what type of decks there are, what kind of techs there may be, so you know what to play around. And in many ways, this makes it so it's more about the plays that you make and the like how much you optimize your plays as opposed to how much surprise factor you're shoving in the match.
Yeah, and the NA qualifier bracket yesterday was pretty stacked. We look at the notable victories for both these players. Sukipan defeated Ant, Vanquisher, Shoop, Leomane. All four of those guys are players that compete in open brackets all the time, and players that have won open brackets all the time. We saw Shoop actually come very close to winning a qualifier. He might have even won one early on. Leomane was in one of the qualifier finals earlier. Ant has been in the scene for a long time, and Snugans defeated Impact, who is a player who made his name by having the most. Don't quote me on this. Actually, you could probably quote me on this.
The most, yeah. Go
The
ahead.
most open tournament victories out of any player.
Yeah,
At least in North America.
I think you're right. I mean, I think 6-0 might be like back in the days, somewhere up there with Impact. But yeah, that's definitely how Impact's name was brought up. And I think he's playing for Luminosity Gaming right now, these days.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and so that's a pretty big victory for Snugans as well. Snugans is on a team Unsung Heroes, so I'm not 100% familiar, but it is listed under his team. So
And it's got a logo, so I guess we win. I mean, it's got to be a semi-serious team. Like, what happens is, when people make teams like these, in Hearthstone initially, there were no teams at all. People didn't even take the game seriously enough to make those teams, but eventually start cropping up as a go-to, because even though it's an individual game, you really need people to practice with and people to theorcraft with. And having an analyst, and I think that's one of the biggest, the key points of having a good team together, is having that one guy to tell you, these matchups are good, these matchups are bad, here's what kind of lineups you would be looking to bring. So when you've got, a team that's taking the game seriously, very often you're at least discussing matchup analysis.
yeah, I'm really excited for the future of teams as well, because as teams evolve, there's going to be positions within the teams.
Right.
That there's like one guy who's like the deck tester. All the other players who actually play on the stage say, hey, I think this card might be good, but I have to practice these decks that I know are going to be played in tournaments. So can you go play 200 games with this deck that I made and see if it's actually worth bringing into tournaments? Like when it gets to be that optimized, where you have one guy on your team who basically just tests the decks that you make, that's going to
Yeah.
be the day, man.
Can
But
you
he
go
still gets paid.
play? Yeah, can you go play that Confused Priest for me, please? I've got that's like this perfect list right now. Can you just one shot people and make the perfect combo list? I've got a
Yeah,
vague draft here, but just modify it to make sure it's good. Yeah, that could be
yeah.
really cool. Honestly, one day, I'm sure it'll happen. And in Magic the Gathering, as to make a parallel, this is very common. You know, you have deck builders and you have deck pilots,
Mhm.
and they're kind of working in conjunction. Although there's no formal team very often. They do work in conjunction very well to where there are people who are just better at playing and people better at testing and deck building.
Yeah, and it would have been especially relevant with the new cards coming out.
Right.
Because, to be honest, when you saw Nax or you saw GVG, you kind of got a feel for what cards were going to be strong, even though a lot of players were wrong. Like the common cards and the rare cards, not the legendaries,
Yeah,
Rip,
of
Trogs, or the
course.
Earthinator. Um, you kind of got a feel for what cards were going to be put in a lot of these strong decks. And with TGT, it's like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like Mukla's Guardian, is that ever going to be played?
Yeah,
The
it looks
game,
like in certain
give your miss?
circumstances,
Yeah,
in certain board states, it's just beyond broken. But then once you start going into the board states where that's relevant, you can't
yeah,
quite picture it yet because the current metagame would just wreck it. You're like, this is unplayable. But if it really slows down and there's ways to cheapen maybe the mana cost of hero powers, and suddenly that whole Inspire theme just changes the metagame and turns it upside down.
yeah. And if you're wondering why Noxious and I are just theory crafting about team structure and TGT, it's because Sukipan did need to take a quick break because he did just play a best of five series
Yeah.
immediately prior to this. We weren't expecting to have to disqualify Domdus in the last match, so he's taking a quick break. So you guys just get to listen to us ramble until these guys
Yeah, I mean,
are
he
finally
got
ready.
wild growth in his opening hand, so he had to apologize to the gods, and then he'll be back. He'll be back a
Yeah.
little later. Although his
Mm.
opponent did get a 6 star. I keep thinking back at that Druid game, right, with the double innervate opener for Boxception, and I wish I could replay that game completely from scratch and see how it could have gone. It would have been great.
Yeah, and we did sort of get unofficial confirmation from multiple sources on either end of Noxious and I saying that Sukipan did miss lethal in a couple of the
Right.
patron turns, but he
Yeah.
still managed to navigate to a victory. So very well played by him in a tough matchup. Even though it can be hard to do math,
Yeah.
we just said it's probably lethal.
Yeah, it's probably lethal. The thing is, I'm here to talk. I'm not here to do math, right? Like,
Yeah.
multiplication is way beyond my job description.
Mm. Very true, very true. So first matchup is going to be looks like Handlock from Snugans. There's a potential that it might be a Malagos lock, but highly doubtful in this environment. And Sukipan's going to throw out the Druid in game one.
Yep. So this is a very good start. Well, very good start. It's a decent start for Sukipan. I think in this case, if he knows what Snoogas is playing, he might be trying to get himself a BGH if he runs any. We did see two tech cards that had, there weren't BGHs. So it may be the case that he's not running them because he's expecting other types of decks to crop up.
Yeah. All right, so that confirms it is just a traditional Handlock here with the Ooze Tech thrown in for most likely the patrons that he faced throughout the tournament. So Wild Growth in to Innervate Emperor with a Force of Nature in his hand.
So, that bio break, I have to say, it looks more and more like a god break. So we'll see if the prayer is going to pay off or not. So far, I'd say yes.
Yeah, that's actually pretty incredible. He's got to plan this out. He realizes that if he Wild Growths next turn, he could then coin Innervate Emperor on turn 3.
Yeah.
So,
Turn
oh wait, no,
four,
turn
Druid, right?
no,
Yeah,
no, you could just innervate it because he'd be Wild Growth next turn, and
on
then
4.
following turn you have 4, you just innervate out Emperor, and then the following turn like that, you just drew the call, still hold on to the coin, so he could still Force of Nature Savagor if he picks it up as early as turn 7. No, 6 because his Force of
6
Nature
because
will be
it'll
reduced.
be reduced by quite a bit of
Holy
mana.
moly!
This is the kind of situation you just don't want to get in. The thing is, the handlock is still in the position of having to tap, which is kind of the setup stage. You're not nearly on the board yet.
Yeah, You can look at Handlock as sort of a ramp deck like Druid, except more consistent, where your
Yeah.
tap is basically like your gain of mana,
Yeah.
because you're making your Twilight Drake stronger, you're getting closer to your Mountain Giant. So both decks are sort of ramp. It's just that the Druid's ramp is situational. You have to draw a card to do it, but they have the potential to be faster. It just depends on their draw, whether or not they draw Wild Growth and Innervate.
See, this is a hell situation because Snookins can play Mountain, but then so Sukipan could coin out Ancient of Lore and draw 2 more cards, get a reduction, and ignore the Giant. And then that's like an extra round of mana cost reduction if a Savage Roar gets picked up. This is super dangerous for Snookins.
Yeah, he'll actually have Sukipan would actually have 3 draws
Yeah,
to get Savage Roar in order to just win in 2 turns from now.
right.
So that is
That sounds
just
balanced.
that's crazy because
Yeah.
I don't know how much there is for Snugans to do. He can try and predict that Savage Roar Force of Nature would have been reduced, but that's just hard to do, and you can't forego too much your big threats because then you find yourself in a position where that Mountain Giant is just going to get harder and harder to play.
So, is there an argument for Iron Beak Owl to make sure that you deal with that effect right now? Wow, he does it.
Brutal.
Okay. That is insanely... Well, then again, what else do you silence, right? There's Sylvanas. Sometimes, slash maybe. You know, how... This is such a hard play to evaluate.
That's brutal.
Yeah, like, I have no other words. You play a 2-drop on turn 4 when you
Oh,
can play a
no.
Mountain Giant.
And the thing is, it's not like he's dealing with the effect, which is really strong. There's a 5/5 still sitting there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
Casually.
surprised if he just cycles Wrath for 1, tries to get closer to Savage Roar, and just play Druid of the Claw.
Charge face. Oh, you
Or just
got
play
to-
Ancient Floor. What?
You know what? Okay, this is too much. This is
There's a
too
Savage
much.
Roar in these 2 cards. Okay.
This is and he's got the BGH.
He picks up both the cards that answer the 2 potential threats that Snugans could play. Keeper for the Twilight Drake, and he's ramped enough to where he can fit in a hero power already.
Right, to kill it.
Or BGH the Mountain. I don't really see a way that Sukipan loses this unless he gets too aggressive and activates Molten Giants before he should, which I just don't think is a possibility.
And it matters why, because BGH.
Yeah.
This is a bit silly, though. This is the kind of game... Okay, you know how sometimes Druid is able to steal games? Because it kind of plays itself out? This is, I feel, partially one of those games. Like, it didn't quite play itself out, where he had to decide when to Wild Growth instead of coining it out. He waited until turn 2, but then the draws lined up. And the position that Snookins was in really forced him to play Iron Beak Owl. But I have to wonder whether or not playing the Mountain Giant was, on average, a more consistent play. Because you do put something on the board that kills the 5/5. You know, you mentioned that's a big problem. You know, it's still a 5/5. And it is. Like, what
Yeah.
are you supposed to do
Yeah.
if you don't kill it? Wait, does he have lethal? He's got to do some math here. Not quite there yet.
Yeah, not quite. But he's getting close.
Oh, why? The trade? Shadow Flame? Okay. I guess he's afraid of Molten Giants.
Well, to be honest, he doesn't really need the Emperor anymore. I mean, it's like done its job. It still traded for the Ancient Watcher.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really need more than 2 creatures on the board at any given time. I mean, at this point, he doesn't even need more than 1. As long as the Ancient Lore sticks, if he draws Savage Roar, he wins.
Yeah. So he's considering right now whether or not he should play into or around Molten. That's definitely the consideration he's got right now.
Also,
I
he
think
might be
it's-
thinking
it's a
about
fair
coining
point.
out Wild Growth.
For the extra mana. Where does that bring you? So you'd be on 7, and then 8. You could play Keeper, Wizard of the Claw for an extra 6 damage. Instead of Force of Nature? Yeah, maybe. So he doesn't attack.
And doesn't coin.
So Shadow Flame is a good card, I guess. What do you play it with? Ancient Watcher Shadow Flame still works out pretty well.
Still leave the Ancient of Lore on the
Yeah.
board with 1 health. You know that he has 2 reduced cards left, plus coin. if he's keeping track. So it would have killed him last turn if that card had been Savage Roar that reduced as well, because he had a total of 7 mana last turn with coin. So
Right.
if he's really being meticulous about keeping track of reduced cards and coin, he can say that he's not on combo, at least not reduced.
So if you're gonna Shadow Flame, do you Sun Fury Shadow Flame or Watcher Shadow Flame? Because the Watcher can be enabled through Argus. Oh, he's just going to go for the attempt. Whoa, the calculations give him that he's gonna be one off lethal if anything. That's got to be the reasoning, because otherwise, no reason to kill the 5/1 over the 4/2.
All right, Sukipan can just do the same thing he did last turn. Clear the board, just hold off, wait for the Savage Roar. I mean, at this point, all he has to do is keep dealing with the single threat that's played. And wait
Playing
for
this
combo.
very slowly. And the thing is, like, at some point he's got inevitability just because of double force of nature. He doesn't even need Savage Roar at this point, unless Snugans picks up, a massive amount of healing.
Next turn, Sukipan just got 10 from hand with Force of Nature, Coin, Drew to the Claw, and Charge for him, because he'll have a total of 9 mana. So
Right.
as long as just the Ancient of Lore sticks on the board, which I don't find any way that it wouldn't. Well, actually, Snugans is going to try and think here. Molten Giant Sun Fury might block more if he doesn't have Savage Roar. Ancient Watcher Shadow Flame would only take 6 damage off the board if no Savage Roar is in hand. It's such a tough choice.
Yeah. I think Snugan's the one who's got to be making the tough decisions here. Sukipan is being very cautious about the way he's killing this Warlock. And in this case, for good reason, because a double Molten Giant Taunt would be a big issue. Alright, so has he got
alive.
lethal?
No?
He's still not. He's going to be one off, actually.
Yep.
So close, yet so far.
And
You
this
can't go for it.
might be could be close to the point of stabilization. So let's see. If Snugans taps next turn, he'll be at 13 health. He can play double Molten.
And Taunt Up, right?
no, he
he couldn't
can't.
play Taunt Up.
No.
But the question then becomes, how slow do you want to be a Sukipan? Because, he's been very, very cautious, right? Like, that's the game plan he's been taking. Like, don't trigger the Moltens, don't let him get them out. And at this point, to be consistent with his game plan, he can't possibly start going face right now, unless he gets the kill. To be consistent with that game plan, there is no way he can actually afford giving Snugans the ability to play Moltens.
So it looks like the game plan is still on, and if that's going to be the case, yeah, he's definitely going to go ahead and trade in the Ancient Watcher. And there goes the Shadow Flame activator for Snugans.
Is that a top deck that helps? At the moment, not so much, because he's missing a Dark Bomb to really make the best of it. Although you could Hellfire tap, play double Molten and Sun Fury.
Yeah, and in fact, that might be the best play.
Yeah, I don't see any other way to really get those Sun Furies out on the board anytime soon. And you're also getting the extra bonus of killing the 2/3 that's on the board. It's a small one, but it can matter.
He'd be put down to 10, so even if he had Force of Nature Savage Roar, he'd still only be able to just clear off the taunts. And then be left with nothing on the board, because he'd have to throw in his Ancient of Lore there as well. So he does tap, so that's the first play. Just to try and evaluate. And I don't think that really...
Whoa. What? Wow, well, that's game, I guess.
Is it yet?
I don't know.
It's not quite.
I haven't calculated. I don't know. It just feels like such an out of this world play. All right, so let's do some math then. Doctor, is that really gonna work? Is this plan really working for Snugans? It's working. They're both being so cautious. Do you see the caution in their plays? They're playing so conservatively, both of them. It's actually astonishing. I don't think I've seen anything like it before.
I mean,
And there
this is the
comes the heal
finals.
bot. Yeah,
So
this is
you look at it from their perspective. They've played probably 9, somewhere between 7 and 9 best of fives to get to this point, and this is the last game. It's the difference between winning, going to the feature tournament, and having a chance to go to a LAN where they can make a big name for themselves, or
going back home.
we throw them $75 and say
Yeah,
better luck next time.
yeah. Good luck with the next qualifier. It's always a bit. I think the pressure must be getting to some people. So GEICO points as well. They're getting
Yeah, yeah. The Geico
every
points as well.
time.
And in fact, usually I'm just trying to be dramatic, but in reality, a lot of the times in the feature tournament, the second place winners from the qualifiers make it as well. As long as they place highly in one of the qualifiers and then get Geico points from any other source, they usually make it to the feature tournament as well. But that takes away the fun.
And now MC Tech could be a big deal if it ends up getting played after the defend of Argus, which I have no doubt the Snugans will play. I doubt you play around MC Tech in this position. This could backfire really heavily. Sukipan's got to feel pretty happy about this, but if he takes one of the smaller minions, this will not help at all. And he takes the crappy defender of Argus, which is no help for the moment.
Snugans actually like taps his head saying, I should have known. Maybe realizing that that could have been a mistake by playing the ooze to challenge the board, because that could have backfired. If he had taken the Molten Giant, whew.
Yeah, that's huge. You're using your BGH on your own minion, and then having to deal with the extra 3/3 body. Savage Roar, would Savage Roar be like close to lethal in a position like this one? Oof, that's gotta hurt.
Where are these Savage Roars?
I don't know. We've been waiting for them all game. But
Seriously.
he got a really good hand though, so can't complain.
I don't even know if he wants to use his keeper now.
This is the longest, I think, Druid versus Handlock I've ever seen.
Yeah, this might go in the history books. If Savage Roar are both his last 2 cards, and both these players just trade for the rest of eternity.
Which they seem to be doing. I mean, the Sukipan is in for the trade. The thing is, all it takes here is a Healbot Shadow Flame, and the Sukipan's board is just gone. Almost.
Yeah.
There's like only a 2/4, and he's dead in 2 turns to the Mountain Giant, the Molten, and then Sukipan has to start playing Force of Nature to clear, and then he can't play Dr. Boom, and then Snugans comes back in. It's just dreadful, is what it feels like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It does look like anti-Healbot Shadow Flame is the play.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could Hellfire, but what's that going to do more? And it's going to weaken your Giant against the 2/4.
If you Hellfire, you're dead to Savage Roar top deck, like you have been for the whole game.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're finally in a position where the Savage Roar top deck doesn't kill you if you play anti-Healbot Shadow Flame. So
Yeah.
Snugans, for once, might be breathing a sigh of relief. Still, though, he does have the potential to lose. It just looks like the game might be starting to go his way here. The keeper still is going to live either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big deal because it might be able to stay on the board as a tiny presence to magnify the strength of Savage Roar. Not picked up yet.
Does exist.
Yeah, I don't think it exists. I think it's a lie. The roar is a lie. And look at that. Look at Sukipan's position now. This is so dreadful. You're having to... Oh, wow. No, that is the last thing you want to do, but you're forced to.
Yeah, he needs to save the Force of Nature just because same amount of mana represents more damage with the Savage Roar.
And look at that. Alright, so... Run me through your play here. Like, you see Lotheb fall down. Obviously, Hellfire is not even a play you would consider, even if you could. Do you play Sylvanas and taunt her up? Or do you just play Sylvanas alone? Or Twilight Drake? Like, what's the...
I think Twilight Drake, because you can make Twilight Drake 6 health, so he has to attack into it as well. If you play Sylvanas Sunfury, I mean, he could just trade his Lotheb, and all of a sudden you just lost value from Sylvanas. And it blocked nearly as much damage as Twilight Drake would have. Just doesn't put quite as much power on the board. If he Twilight Drakes as well, you can tap. So tap first, heal bot.
Oh, wow. Nice pickup right there. Very nice pickup for Snugans.
Ooh, this is bold. Oh, he's gonna go for the BGH.
That is bold, because that will backfire as soon as Dr. Boom hits the board. Although I think at this point what he's trying to do is, hey, if I put this minion down and he doesn't kill me with Force of Nature Savage Roar, I win, because I have to go
Yeah.
face. So if he doesn't have combo, he has to play defensively.
This is a good time to try and practice your hand gesture reading skills because I'm trying to see Sukipan's reaction, but
You know, this pencil hasn't been used enough this game.
he's been
Like,
writing things with it.
Okay, sometimes.
He's using it more as like a anti-stress tool than he is a writing utensil.
You know, there's a lot of merit in that. I think we should have like a stress tool metagame going on. For
Yeah.
Hearthstone pros, what do you use when you're stressed?
I'm a stress ball kind of guy. Just good old-fashioned squishy ball.
Oh man, that BGH will feel like... Well, then again, he gets a clean clear, right? Like, you attack into Boom, Hellfire, Healbot, and you're back in this game really hard.
All right. I don't... Yeah, and there's actually... If he does that, there's no way that the boombots could do enough damage to him.
Yeah, at the
punish
moment at
him.
least.
At the
At
moment.
the moment, at least, yeah. I mean, he could still be dead. Like, if Hellfire goes on at 13, takes 8, and Healbots, he's still dead a combo, I think.
Oh, okay. If he
So
takes
there's
8...
like... Yeah, like, he has to take a lot of damage to die, but it's possible. Like, it's happened before, right?
Yeah, if the boombots each do 3, he's still alive because he's at 15. Oh, no, he's not because...
He's not, exactly,
Still be able to... So the boombots have to do 5 or less.
Let's see what the Boombots roulette give us. Alright, so he takes
3,
6. He's gonna be 1 off lethal with a combo, but he's gonna die to the hero power because the cost of Force of Nature has been reduced. This would be so sick. You have to play Belcher here. You have to play Belcher. Sylvanas? What?
He's just gonna...
There's not a single universe in which you play Sylvanas here.
Yeah, Belcher does block lethal. Okay.
I had almost a heart attack.
Yeah.
TJ.
And no
Like, I-
Saboteur again.
It's not in his deck. He cut them for MC techs.
If you played Sylvanas there, Saboteur was top decked.
Actually, he didn't even need it because he was dead to Force of Nature hero power. Oh man! All right, now he's back in this game. He stabilized. I think Sukipan gave his opponent way too much time.
Yeah.
Way too much time.
I don't know. I feel like Snugans just played this so well. He played really conservatively, but he had a couple turns with like the slight amount of risk. Like playing the BGH when he could have taunted up. I guess he would have been dead anyway, so... But... actually, I don't know. Because he just heal-botted. I don't know. This game's just been crazy. How many cards does Sukipan have left? I wonder if we can see that.
I have no idea. All I know is right now he's considering, hey, how do I survive this turn?
9
And,
cards.
Like, it has to get a crappy 2-drop out of the Shredder, which this is not one of them. It's pretty bad, but it's not bad enough that he won't die if he uses the Ancient of Lore to heal. So he's got a Force of Nature to try to get Sylvanas to give absolute trash to his opponent. Not impossible, mind you, but... He could live if a 2-2 was taken here, and then the 2-3 is all that's left.
Yep.
And he's going to be alive for one more turn, but the heal bot is going to make him despair. Whoa, what is he thinking? Oh, he was thinking of maybe using his hero power to clear the slime. I see. I see how it is.
Alright, well... This game
scary.
has taken a turn for the worst for Sukipan.
It's not quite over yet,
And
but
that
yeah, actually it
is
is
it.
over. That
Yeah.
is game, and the Snugans, after an excruciatingly long Druid versus Handlock, is going to take it. Oh man.
He's just double counting, making sure, okay.
Yeah,
2
6
plus
minus
3 is
3.
5.
There's no boombot, right? There's no boombot right there. Yeah.
Alright, that's very well played by Snugans, and a little bit heartbreaking for Sukipan.
Yeah.
Both Saboteurs were in the bottom 9 cards of his
I don't
deck.
know. I can't even tell. Like, it was just really far away. But
They
he had a
showed-
few opportunities, though, to just really push for lethal. But he played a very conservative Druid game, which in some cases, I guess, you could say can be necessary. But when you're that far ahead, you know, sometimes a lot of people say don't even bother playing around Moltons. Like, if you can remove them with your minions, just push it and force them to have them.
Yeah. Well, looks like we're just gonna go right into game number 2 here in a second, and that game alone lasted what
20 minutes?
20,
Solid.
25 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, it's a little bit of a change of pace. I was telling you earlier in the break how in the EU qualifier number 6 on Tuesday, all 4 best of 5s together lasted. We were done 5 minutes ago. We're not even halfway through the second match here, so this is some action-packed Arsenal going on. Nobody's
Yeah.
smorking today.
Yeah, it's like no Shoggoden. You know, we're missing the Shoggoden. There's no
Yeah.
Face Hunter as of right now. You know, I'm waiting to see if we're gonna get a really good burst shaman coming up with ancestral knowledge as card draw for the late game. I think that could change the metagame a little bit.
Hmm.
I mean, shaman looks to be one of the better classes after TGT, based on what we already know, of course,
That's
of
what
the
everybody
metagame.
always says.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
people
Drugs are
still come
always
back
good.
to, oh, the only class with a random hero power. I
Yeah,
guess there's cards that make it a little bit different.
yeah, just the card too hard. Well, there's a shade of Nax and Snugans, so he's running a more conservative slash traditional list. Although there is an Ancient of War there, so maybe a little bit on the unusual side.
Yeah. Ancient of War helps the patron matchup a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, patrons do have direct removal with execute, but they only have 2. And a lot of times, patron warriors will be pretty, I want to say, aggressive with their executes early on. Like, a lot of times they'll use executes to protect their like, draw engines early on, like Acolyte or something. Um, so sometimes when the Ancient of War comes down, you either haven't drawn into it or you've used it already. So it's really tough to get through a big taunt like that.
All right,
And
so Sukipan is taking his time. What do I do on turn 2? Is there any reason to play Fire War Axe? Um, I guess it's decent if you expect to have to fight off a Shredder, but even then, your turn 3 could consist of the exact same thing.
yeah.
I think overall, you're still going to be splitting your turn 3. I mean, the only argument is if I top deck Acolyte of Pain and he has a minion, then I want to be able to play the Acolyte and kill the minion. That's like the
Yeah.
one consideration, I think.
Yeah. I think you're okay with attacking here. Equipping is 100% just because worst case scenarios like you bait out a news. Like they're not going to use weapon removal on a Fire War Axe, so you can just sit on it for as long as you need to. Even if you end up overriding with a Despite, just sitting on it is okay. Because a lot of times the only thing you're ever going to take out with the Fire War Axe in this matchup is like the first iteration of a piloted shredder.
Yeah. The first
So
half of it, maybe combine it with another minion for damage, but
yeah.
even then, like your minions start coming out a bit later than that, and usually it's through Death's Bite, so Fire War Axe ends up being somewhat irrelevant.
So this is still a little. What is it? Has that been there the whole time?
The
Is
what,
that
Diener?
Stewie? And Snugans wall?
Yeah, looks like it actually. Why is he upside down?
I don't
This
know,
is some
but
voodoo right there. What's
yeah,
going
I
on?
don't think that's been there the whole time.
I think he just added it right now to spook us. Oh
Okay.
no, he was actually standing straight. We couldn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dead Stewie's been there for a while.
Wow. It's depressing.
Oh, Acolyte
Alright.
of Pain got picked up, so it turns out equipping the War Axe might have been okay after all.
Hmm.
You know, I have to say I'm surprised the Snugans didn't coin out the Shade. Usually this is a type of minion you get out as fast as possible, just to make sure it grows as big as it can.
I think he realized that he's got coin Innervate, so he can get out a really powerful drop super early in the game. So if you,
Uprooted Ancient of War.
yeah, just go for it. Just go ham. So delaying the shade for one turn might be worth it in the long run if he's able to get out a bigger minion earlier
Yeah.
than he would have.
And you know, he can curve it pretty nicely. You know, you mentioned that, and that's actually true because he can curve it with the Drake right afterwards. Now he picked up Lotheb in case that looks better to him. But the 5-drop that he's got really enables a bit of a better curve by waiting on the coin.
What is he thinking about?
What
can-
does my opponent play next turn? I mean, I guess he armors up and passes like every patient player at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he wants to Wrath here
Yeah,
because he
to make
doesn't want to
sure.
leave the Acolyte up another turn. So he's thinking, if I Wrath, do I Innervate out Shade after that? Do I just play Shade? And just Shade it is.
Let's see what Sukipan does with this. I mean, very often here with the kind of hand that he's got, he kind of has to, Cruel Task the Acolyte just for card draw. He's guaranteed to get two of it. Two cards are out of it, so worth it. Battle Rage is mediocre at best.
Mm-hmm. And smart play by Snugans. I think he had the opportunity to hero power on turn 2 and decided not to attack with it, to not damage Sukipan.
Yeah.
So that would have been a pretty good turn for a Battle Rage. If he was at 29 health, he would have gotten 1 card from the Cruel Taskmaster, plus 2 from Battle Rage with the 2 mana left over from using the Cruel Task. Ends up only being not worth it, because it would only be 1 card in the end. So,
yeah.
Heads up play.
if you look at this from Snugan's perspective, now he picked up a Shredder. He can play very nicely on curve. He still has the access to Innervate Coin, Ancient of War, and you can actually unstealth the Shade on the Cruel Taskmaster. There's a possibility that he just doesn't have the Execute or the Whirlwind effect or the Inner Rage or Cruel Task. And if he uses either of those on your Shade, you're probably somewhat okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really all about whether or not Snugans is worried about that, because that's a huge Execute swing if the Ancient of War gets removed.
He's for open every turn.
Rope Coach. I like
What's some
Wrath
wordplay
Innervate
that we
Shredder
can
is
do with-
good, I think, but we'll see what he does.
What's wordplay that we can do with Snugan's name, combining it with the rope? Go for it.
That's really tough. Well, you're giving me like the toughest challenge ever. Okay, wait. Snugans. Okay, let's just look up. Okay, let me just check it out. So synonyms, rope. Surely I'll find something.
String.
Now we're getting there.
Twine.
Twine,
Thread?
thread, cable, strand, string, tape. That's not working. Can you change your name, Snugans?
Ropegins.
Ropegans is good. Yeah.
No, it's terrible.
Well, I mean, it's the best we can do. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't watch the rebroadcast, because he'd be disappointed in us.
Yeah. And I want to say Tuggins because tug of war, but it's kind of too far fetched, right?
Yeah, you have to think about it a little bit. I like that though. It's got some class to it.
Yeah, Tuggins. Oh man, what a crazy keeper! Oh wait.
Well, Harrison Jones played as a tempo play here. Now, one thing to note is Sukipan actually has some decent pieces of his combo here. He's got Despite, but he sort of needs that. So he doesn't want to set it up too hastily, because if he gets Harrison, he's basically just locked out of doing anything from his hand. Hasn't drawn into Emperor yet, so off the top, that'd probably be one of the best, probably the best draw.
I have to say one thing, TJ. This happens way too often, where I'm literally on turn 5 saying this would be the best draw for Patreon right now, and I'm talking about Emperor, and it comes out. It happened 3 times today in a very minute amount of games. If you think about how many I've casted, something's really off with Emperor. There's something with the algorithm, the way cards are shuffled. It's always there on 6.
He decides to get a little bit greedy with it. So the thing that he's looking to do here is develop the Despite and use this Despite basically to draw a bunch of cards, most likely, by either using it to develop Patriots next turn, or if he doesn't draw it to another activator, then using it to on the Acolyte of Pain to draw at least 3 cards with Battle Rage, and then play Emperor to reduce more combo pieces in his hand to look for a way to close out the game with that Frothing Berserker that he has sitting there. So it's not an auto play. It's still a good draw, but there's a lot of merit to playing the Despite as well, just because he wants more cards. He wants to get a little greedier to get more value out of the Emperor.
So I kind of like this play because if you think about all the cards you're looking for the combo, you've got Execute, that's a cheap removal against Druid Taunts. You've got Whirlwind that can really make your combo even more potent. And it's going to cost you almost nothing to play baseline, but if you can make it 0, then your combo is just, twice as explosive very frequently.
Ooh,
Battle
sick.
Rage.
Love that.
Yeah.
No Battle Rage for you.
Emperor's good now, I guess, if you pick up something you want. You kind of have to take it, right? Do you ever not take it? I guess you can play your Acolyte and attack into Lothab, but it's not that bad. You can do it, yeah.
You can.
You kind of have to, I guess. It's consistent with your line of play that you just made. So for that reason, I'd like it, if only for consistency's sake.
To prove that the play you made was the better play. to
Yeah.
prove that you thought through the fact that your opponent might play low Theb.
Yeah.
And you're going to go with it anyway.
And he's gonna play this first. So he's not gonna trade with the Death Bite for sure. It's gotta be a Harrison trade. Wow, the card draw is looking real. But now, Keeper of the Groove is coming to stop the dance.
Yeah, that's a good one. And
you can skim over it and not even comment on it, TJ. It's perfectly fine. you could have just ignored it and you could have moved on
that got
faster.
a really good chuckle out of me, so I decided I had to acknowledge it.
Alright, good.
We have to talk about the shade a little bit though, because
Right.
even if Sukipan armors up, it's still getting close to the point where this thing can do some damage.
Yeah, with
Force of Nature Saboteur
Savage.
combo would if he drew it next turn would be
22 damage.
23
yeah.
damage.
Oh yeah, 7 damage baseline. Yeah, 23.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you can't this turn unless you hit Innervate. So it's starting to get to those pretty big numbers.
And there's still no execute inside for Sukipan, so he still has no way to really deal with that. Oh god. Well, now he has to split the executes, right?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
kind of
just two.
Which with Battle Rage, I guess, is not impossible.
Yeah.
So-
he could throw the Loot Hoarder in. That might be option number one.
Patron, I like Patron, Armor Smith. Trade with the Loot Hoarder, see what happens. Well, you trade first, I guess, and then you see what you find, and then maybe you go Patron. Oh my god. This is actually unfair. No, this is legitimately unfair. There's absolutely nothing fair about this. Everything about this just screams unfair. I don't. Then again, Snugans had a.
Snugans just nods his head and realizes, well, I had a 5/10 and a 6/6,
And it's gone.
and now I have nothing, and he has an Emperor Thorsan. What happened in my life that made that turn go the way that it did?
Yeah. So I have a question. What do you think about the Shadow and stealthing there? Like, did you think it was consistent with like any particular game plan? What was it worth sacrificing to deny maybe one extra card draw?
I mean, it could have potentially, at that stage in the game, double Whirlwind effect might have been a pretty likely thing to happen the next turn with the Despot already equipped.
Right.
So he might have denied 2 draws with that. I don't think it's bad because he realizes that, well, he has to have both executes if he wants to deal with this board. If he only executes one, he
I stay ahead.
doesn't really have a reliable way to deal with the rest of the board. So, I mean, I don't really say that that's bad. It just, he gets punished by the double execute. If Sukipan hadn't drawn double execute there, that's a fantastic play.
You're right. I think actually it made a lot of sense as soon as he played the Ancient of War. I'm like, yeah, this is good because he's forcing his opponent to have 2 executes. In this case, it backfired massively, but most of the time I think you're going to be somewhat fine. Oh, and he picks up the War Song Commander right now. Is that actually any close to lethal? He can play Frothing, he can play Patron, he can play War Song. He can't play Battle Rage, however, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him stop.
9 plus 6 is
9
14, plus he gets
plus
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He's like 2 off lethal, I think.
Yeah.
Another round, and just you go for it.
Yeah, 19 damage. So next turn he's like, even if he doesn't get it next turn, he can either plop down Armorsmith. He can plop down Armorsmith and Battle Rage.
Oh!
Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa! So I have the play, okay? You ooze, then you keeper your Sylvanas for 2, then you coin keeper your Sylvanas for 2, you steal that Emperor, and you say, hey, my turn to play.
And then all of a sudden you have 2 keepers on the board. And
Yeah.
he's got Patriots and a Frog Berserker. You die anyway.
But he doesn't have a Whirlwind.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess you're still dead.
Yeah. He
I had a
just bounces
dream.
patrons for like 3 years, and then you're still dead. But Ooze off the top is
It's a really good card for him right now.
Vengeance for the double executes that were drawn in the turn prior. Sukipan is still just a Whirlwind effect away from winning.
Yeah, despite the Fog of War, I can tell that Sukipan is a bit distraught.
Yeah. Yep. And we haven't seen natural whirlwinds from Sukipan, just like straight up.
Yeah, an AoE, just 1 mana. Not
Even a
yet.
cool Taskmaster, he has enough mana to be able to fit in everything. Or
Like,
sorry, Unstable Ghoul.
Unstable Ghoul, yeah. Well, he's gonna have to play it a bit slower because without a whirlwind effect, this entire board is not looking nearly as convincing. And Sylvanas is a bit of a problem. Actually, could Snugans win this? What would it take?
Yeah. Combo. I mean, Sukipan, he's starting to have flashbacks the last game where
So
his,
close.
where his whirlwind effects are going to be in the bottom whatever cards in his deck, just like his Savage Roar was.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just play your whole hand.
That's decent. That's decent because you're gonna draw a few cards from playing Battle Rage, and ultimately you're still looking for that whirlwind effect to just snowball out of control and win. And that might be enough. Shield block, not quite what you're looking for. Ah, that is good. But do you play it now or do you play it later? Apparently, later. I mean, it's a good card now. You deal 5 extra damage with the Frothing, and you gain like 10 armor. Well, 8. I would have done it.
Well, it puts him down to 9. So if Warsong Commander lives,
Oh, which it won't.
which it won't, if it did, he'd have lethal next turn because he could double Patient Whirlwind.
Well,
which would
look
be
at
at
this
least full
now.
damage.
Like the problem that Sukipan risks running into, and keyword is risks because he does have 2 patrons to start the whirlwind with, is that if his board is gone, he currently has not only no card draw but no charge.
Yeah. So he could guarantee steal the. Well, he could still
take an
just go
armor
whatever he
smith,
wants.
yeah, he could just decide what he wants and take it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so he could swipe the.
Oh,
full
actually,
health
he
Armsmith.
can guarantee the Frothing. You attack the Warsong Commander with Sylvanas, you swipe the Armor Smith, and you keep her the Grove your Syl.
Yeah.
And then you steal that Frothing and force the Warrior to just have a 3rd execute. That's not happening.
Yep.
I hope he does it. That'd be a great looking play at the very least, and it's gonna have charge, so you can use it right now. But it might be too late, man. You've got to do it now. Come on, queue up the actions. Attack, attack, go,
It's
go,
green.
go, drive.
It's green, so he got
Oh,
it.
come on. Well, no, he didn't attack yet. I didn't see the attack. Did you?
I think he did. It's going to catch up, and I think he attacked.
I truly hope so. I
'Cause
don't
he got
see
a
it.
hero power off.
Yo, come on. Tell me.
He did it.
didn't. Wow.
Okay.
GG. What's 11 damage after all?
Yeah. All right. Well, do you just play both No, you can't do that because
Well,
you
you
don't
can
have
play-
Battle Rage.
Hey, you play both patrons Whirlwind. What's the druid gonna do? Starfall with Blood Mage? Like, what's gonna happen here?
Well, actually, what he could do is, yeah, if he's gonna do that, he has to War Axe into the Frothing Berserker. Because if he didn't, so there's gonna be 2 2-health patrons and 2 3-health patrons. So the 2 2-health patrons he can deal with easily with just keepers.
By the way, we forgot Snoozegens would have been good. Somebody just typed it in the chat. This is brilliant. How
Oh,
did I think of
Snoozegens!
this? This would have been so good.
Who's did you get that champion's Twitch name?
It's Puffin Plays.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Nice job, Puffin.
Yeah, fantastic.
So Inner Rage with Whirlwind turns out is better than just 2 patrons and a Whirlwind.
Well,
This is a moment. You just look at the board, you think to yourself, maybe there's something I can do, but I don't quite see it.
nah, I think he's dead. Even if he Ancient of Lores. Okay, so if he Ancient of Lore heals, he's at 15. Nah, he can't live. He's dead if he does that. Actually, no, he's not, because he could Ancient of Lore,
he'd be
heal,
dead.
and then Hero Power, but he'd be at 1, effectively. Because he could take the 5 damage patient off the board.
Well, that's
So
a
1
dub
damage
deck.
kill.
That actually makes him live, I think. He kills 1 minion, then he keepers 1 and kills... Yeah, he's gonna be on 1 health at the end of this. He can even cycle the Wrath if he wants. But I mean, he's gonna leave patrons at 3 health. I don't think you want to do that.
Well, step 1...
Don't die.
Well, step 1 is actually start doing plays.
Snoozegens! Snoozegens! What?
Mm.
Snoozegens.
So he went with the old Cycle the Wrath concede play. It's a
Yeah.
classic.
It's actually just under the warning section of the forbidden APM techniques. It says if you're trying to get off an ability, do it before the last 2 seconds of the rope, and it's a really like it's a huge warning. You have to read the book though.
Yeah. And it looks like he didn't. So Sukipan is going to take the win there. That was a pretty close matchup. There was a couple
Yeah,
top decks on both sides. We had double execute from Sukipan, and then 2 turns later, Snugans top decked the ooze to get rid of the Despite that would have for sure killed him the
yeah.
following turn. So both these guys really just taking their time, thinking through their turns, hungry for a win.
Yeah, Snugans was really close, I think, at some point to stabilizing, but then, the wave of patrons was way too much. Like, you can't really stop it at some point. And the frothing attack, I mean, I keep wondering, because it seems to me like he was just short of doing some actions. You mentioned attacking with the frothing was green, he could have done it. At the end there, with the keeper, it didn't quite line up. So either he didn't really want to do it, at the very end, and he said, it doesn't matter, I'm just going through the motions, or he missed out on time. And that just goes to show that it might sound ridiculous, but you still need to start doing stuff a lot faster than people think in a card game, which is kind of
Yeah,
amusing.
yeah. Patron War, a lot of times, if you think you might have lethal, you probably should just start
Yeah,
and hope you find it along the way. Because if you practice Patron enough, you end up knowing the most efficient ways to throw cards, like the most efficient way to clear a Belcher with a Patron, a Whirlwind, and an Inner Rage. So, yeah, sometimes you just have to start. Okay, a Hunter game, the first one of the day.
yeah, and I mean, this is a pretty decent matchup for it. I think it looks like a hybrid. We're seeing a Freezing Trap and an Arcane Golem, usually indicative of a hybrid deck. It's not really all in either way. Not going to be full face, not going to be full mid range.
You could end up throwing a curveball in and be going a full face Hunter and just throwing in the Freezing Trap as a
As a bait,
like
I guess. Frezar did
yeah
that a while back. I remember some
yeah
in a tournament. It was actually pretty amusing to see.
yeah. Paladin Shredder though looks like it indicates that it is at least slightly hybrid. Chucky ran a similar Hunter where it was very aggressive, pretty much all face, but then it had like Shredder, just Shredder, High Main, and Freezing Trap.
And
Those were
freezing
the
traps.
mid-range
Yeah.
elements.
Oh, there's a snake trap. In this case, it's maybe not as good as Snugans wants it to be. Obviously, Mad Scientist would have been much better here. Sure, you don't control the secret, but would have been a lot more relevant to play on curve. Wild Growth for Sukipan again.
All 3 Druid games he's played.
Yeah, pretty hard to argue with that.
Yeah, Savannah High Main. Okay, so this deck is really interesting. It's not really full mid-range, which the traps in the opening hand would lead you to believe, because it does run at least one Arcane Golem. So, Freezing Trap, Snake Trap we've seen so far, we've seen Arcane Golem, and now we see High Main. Really interesting.
Like, you can't really play Keeper. I mean, the Knife Driller here, because you're afraid of Keeper the Grove, that's a big threat to you. But at the same time, if you don't play it, then you're not forcing your opponent to have an answer. So the pressure you're putting on is not good enough. And if he plays Keeper now, you queuing up into the Shredder afterwards is just amazing. Oh, wow. Well, that's, yeah, rest in peace, Juggler. And we see Snugans just smiling in despair. As
Wow.
confusing as that might sound.
This is actually pretty impressive by Sukipan. Like what he's just ripping off the top.
Yeah.
The last game with the Emperor and do the double execute. This game with the Wild Growth to the Keeper off the top as well. So it's pretty crazy, especially all 3 games getting the Wild Growth in the first draw. We can see why he really likes the Druid.
That's kind of how you have to play Druid anyway, right? Isn't that how you play Hunter? You just rip off kill commands at the last minute. Here he picks up a Sludge Belcher again off the top. Pretty good card to find. And of course, Snugans doesn't find the R&B Cowl that he's looking for.
Next turn he's gonna have to deal with like a Coin Ancient of Ward as well. Wow.
Yeah, I think you just go like double Lepronome, Snake Trap, and to hell with it. Or you just maybe kill command, trade, and then I think you might have to kill command in a position like this.
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah.
Uh, the heavier the deck leans towards mid range, the more you can utilize your spells early on as just removal tools because you
Yeah.
do have more valuable creatures. So you're not really reliant on the spells late game to finish it out. Like once your hand is empty and you have to have spells, you can like pop a high main down, and you can't really do that with the super aggressive hunter.
So what's really worrying here is that if he goes for the double leper, not just the one, the double leper, he's completely his board is gone because between Wrath and Swipe, not only does it pop the Shredder and he can kill a spider with the Keeper, but then everything's dead, and he's left with the High Main and he's going to be queuing it into a Nation of War.
Unless another hunter creeper comes out of the shredder, that would save him.
Yeah,
He'd be left. He'd be left with 2/1/1s. Yeah, this is just pretty.
this is brutal.
Yeah, the one saving grace he does have is that if he spends this whole turn playing spells, then he can just plop down Savannah Highmane on pretty much an empty board next turn. But he hasn't managed to chip away with damage. He's still going to be at 27 health after this turn ends. So even if he manages to swing a few times to the face of the Savannah Highmane, it's still to the point of stabilization. Well, actually, he's going to be a lot less than 27 because of the Leopard Elms, but still, 23 is still relatively healthy for this stage of the game.
Yeah. Well, there's an Eagle Horn bow that's quite a bit of damage, but again, you're having to go through Ancient of War, so unless you're finding an Iron Beak Owl right off the top, this is going to be really tough to go through. Hunter's Mark could also work with Eagle Horn bow, could finish it off pretty easily. Quick Shot, the combination of Quick Shot and High Main plus bow could also help a bit.
The Insta Slam on the Ancient of War.
No thought involved here. I think it's a pretty obvious play, and that's kind of what he was looking for. He's going to get the cycle, the Quick Shot.
But does he really want to throw
like 5
12 damage into this?
Does he want to? I don't know. Does he have to? I'm starting to think so, maybe. I mean, I guess you could just Quick Shot the 2/3 instead. But yeah, I don't know about that.
He might just like play Snake Trap and Hero Power and just hope that these hyenas are going to trade in. I don't know if he.
You
this
think?
is just. It's just so.
It's just so wrong
My
on
heart
so many
pains
levels.
either way. I never thought I'd feel sympathy for a hunter, but
Yeah.
this is just one of those times where you're like, poor guy.
Yeah, you're like, this class is so bad. Why did Blizzard make it? Like, it's such a bad card and it's not competitive at all.
Like, I wish he would get a huffer because just to console him, you know.
Yeah. Oh, 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 oh my God, Snugans! I'm so
Snugans is-
sorry, Snugans.
He's thinking in his head right now, what's the worst thing that could ever happen to me right now?
Harrison Jones, I guess. Oh, Uza is just as good. Right off the top.
Can't even look at the screen.
Yeah, that's it. He's out. He's like, you know what? I don't even bother with this. What is this esports?
Another thing there is Sukipan was able to check for snake traps. So he went face with the keeper, didn't see explosive, didn't see freezing. Played Drew the Claw or played Swamp Ooze. It didn't get sniped, so you can safely assume.
So you know what we need to see right now? An Innervate off the top, so he can get the double combo off right now, just to drive it in.
You're a sick man.
Yeah, I think I am. We're not quite there yet, unfortunately.
But it is lethal regardless, so Sukipan just absolutely rolls over the mid-range hunter from Snugans in this series. And wait, it's not lethal?
No, it's just BM trading, I guess. He finds it
amusing. Already
amusing.
attack with his creatures? And, okay. Wasn't expecting Sukipan to go for the BM there, but just trying to put Snugans on tilt, I suppose.
Yeah, we saw him trade a lot with Druid earlier, so I was starting to figure, well, maybe he's just kind of, you know, sometimes you tunnel vision in a game and you just don't do what you ought to, and you just miss lethal like 3 turns straight, and then you wake up to the fact that you've just been playing absolutely wrong for so long, so figured maybe that was a case of that.
Well, we're going to move into match point here for Sukipan. He just has to win with the Warlock. And Snugans still has to find wins with Druid and Hunter. Sukipan was running the... Was he Handlock?
No, I believe that he was the handlock player, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, no, wait, it was his
No, he was
opponent.
Demon
He was
Zoo,
playing
yeah.
the Demon Zoo lock, and his
Yeah.
opponent was playing handlock.
Yeah. Because I remember the Boxception had the all golden handlock, and there was only one handlock in that matchup. So
Right.
it's going to be Demon Zoo versus mid-range Hunter. And this matchup, a lot of it depends on the Hunter's early curve, it feels like. If a Hunter doesn't hit the early drops, then it can be a really tough matchup because they fall so far behind on board, and the sticky creatures make it so they can never have one of their threats stick. But if they manage to hit the early curves and make it hard for the Warlock to make a board, then it can be the other way around. And we can see that Snugans actually does have a really good opening hand. He's got coin 2-drop into 2-drop into 3-drop, and that's what you need if you're going to want to contest a game against the Demon Zoo.
Yeah, a few people tell me that they think, because I used to say that the Zoo was really good against mid-range Hunter, and some people disagree with that. I thought, rather that was good against Face Hunter, and they said that Face Hunter was better against Zoo than the other way around. So it turns out a lot of people have different experiences with a matchup, but overall you're always looking for the exact same stuff, right? Like that Mad Scientist, Haunted Creeper, a good juggler. Very often you almost want to keep it for the Unleash the Hounds in a matchup like this.
Yeah, it just ends up being that Face Hunter has more drops that are 2 and below, so they're more likely to hit the curve early on, which is just such a huge deal because if you let the Warlock have something that sticks, if they play a Knife Juggler and it sticks, you're just
you're out of it. Yeah. And the worst part is, I think that's the worst part about the matchup is that they can play Voidwalker, and that's why I feel like Zoo isn't that bad against Face Hunter, because Voidwalker can often 2-for-1 or force coin Wolf Rider just to be played to kill the 1-drop, which is just insane.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, that's an unexpected Void Terror.
That's really rough. He did not hit his early curve. It's still a pretty strong play in the fact that he does get a 4-5 on the board and a couple 1-1s to contest here. But there's a couple ways for Snugans to... Actually, it's a little bit rough.
That? So it depends on whether or not he has only Freezing Traps, because if he only has Freezing Traps, then I could see Unleash being used and the Mad Scientist sacrificed just to make sure that the Freezing Trap hits on the Void Terror. Then that would really give a huge edge to Snugans.
Yeah, because then he'd still be level with the Hound as well, so he could push a little bit. He might even be able to clear the board depending on how these juggles go.
Yeah, if they go perfectly, then he can clear the board. And Sukipan is currently in despair at this board. And funny enough, like he's the one who just inflicted the worst possible thing you could ever do to someone with that last Druid game. Come on, man, you gotta have some.
Sukipan looks like he's physically in pain. I mean. You might want to get someone to go over there and check him because
he's like,
it looks like he just died.
Well, this is actually a pretty good outcome, I'd venture to say. Just out of the blue, but he still has Implosion. Not really a big deal. It'll counter Freezing Trap if that's what it's there. So if it hits for 4, again a huge swing. Hits for 4, it's a huge swing.
Of course.
And I don't see Sukipan in pain anymore.
This is probably Snake Trap. Oh yeah, we did see the Snake Trap. So. Secret is most likely Snake Trap since Freezing Trap is highlighted. He does have 2.
Animal Companion I like a lot here.
Misha would be fantastic because it'd force him to attack into the snake.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal because it contests the implosions.
But the extra damage from Eagle Hornbow and the charge that comes with it might be too... Oh, it was explosive. He's actually spread. He's the Prismatic Hunter.
Ooh.
He's playing Freezing, Explosive, and Snake.
And this is interesting. Oh, that's why Sukipan did it last turn, because he was just double checking that it was Snake instead of... Oh, no, it wouldn't have been misdirection.
And Sukipan, again, in huge pain. He's a very emotive player, it seems.
Yeah.
Emotional player? Yeah, emotional. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's why his webcam is so cloudy. It's because of the tears from games that he lost.
It's so steamy. It's like the entire room.
It's from him bouncing off his room.
There's like dust everywhere. Well, I guess you just go full face at this point. You've got the Edge, you've got the Animal Companion, you've got Quick Shot. I think this is the time to turn on the SM Orc. And yeah, push it. Let's do this.
Yeah, he's going to have like 9 damage guaranteed over the next 3 turns from the bow. And And he could just start pushing in. He's got a little bit of burn as well. He's got quick shot. He's got a potential huffer.
No, a huffer. I don't think you mean. When you say potential,
yeah. He's got a huffer.
Yeah, that can
I
work
think that's
out.
just game.
Yeah, it's game next turn, no matter what.
Yeah.
I think so, at least. Unless, well, I mean, you don't have to trigger the trap that's there. Like from your perspective, I guess he's trying to see whether or not the imps can maybe tank the trap, and then he doesn't trigger with the void caller. Do you know this is hell because you're trying to play around explosive and snake and freezing all at the same time.
If he rolls a huffer, it's a win. Oh no,
Yeah.
it's not because he doesn't have enough mana to play hero power as well. So
Oh,
if
he's
he rolls a
missing
huffer,
one.
I believe he's one off. But I think you just go for it because at this point,
What's he gonna heal with?
yeah, there's no way for him to gain health. Even if he taunts up, he's still not anywhere close to killing you. You can just hero power him over the next couple turns.
The only way I think Sukipan can get out of this if his Mal'Ganis comes off the top and that 3/4 Void Caller ends up summoning it. But there's a Flame Imp, that's a liability. You just don't know whether or not that's going to come out instead.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, decision for Snugans has to decide whether or not he wants to kill those imps so they don't tank the trap. But then the drawback is there might just be an abusive sergeant to make the egg do that anyway.
Lining himself up for the best chance to win. Plays Mad Scientist as well. which I
Oh
think is
my
better.
god, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. I mean, you can take the damage, who cares, from that Flame Imp.
Wow.
I don't even know what to say. This is a rare occurrence. Rarely will this ever happen, but like you can play all your demons.
Oh no, the three mana imp.
Yeah, you can play
no,
it.
it doesn't
It's
matter.
fine. Yeah, you can play it. It's all right. It's
Yeah,
gonna
what
be
am I
3/3.
Of course he would have the perfect card.
Yeah. Of course he's gonna have the exact mana cost.
Yeah, of course it would line up exactly for 8 mana.
Yeah, what do you say, TJ? I mean, you didn't plan that like 17 turns ahead.
Yeah.
Last game I was thinking about this turn. What the hell, man?
No.
Please tell me you play all your minions
Nope.
first. You can't be serious, Sukipan. Have you played Zoo before?
No.
What?
It pulled out the imp.
Why? In what
Nope.
universe is this something you do? Sorry, okay, wait. I need to calm down. What is going on, TJ?
Sukipan didn't feel like he deserved that one. That was a mistake. Okay, well,
What?
um,
Okay, you know what? I think this is legitimately a case of somebody outthinking themselves somehow.
yeah. Yep.
My question is, would he still be dead? Because he could have killed. Well, it would have been 7 extra health you have to go through with Mal'Ganis, so I think he would have been alive at least a little bit.
7 extra health, and not only that, but that's like all the cards' potential damage that Snugans had would go into
Right.
that. And he would also take 9 damage to the face with still quite a few creatures left on the board. So there could have been potential if Sukipan had gone through one more turn that he could have been able to pull together lethal himself. So because he would have had to attack into it with his bow, I think.
Right. So you find a Doom Guard, maybe you're able to get a bit of extra damage. A Power Overwhelming, perhaps. All it takes is
Yeah.
just a tiny bit more reach that he could have gotten off of that Mal'Ganis staying alive.
But a potential turnaround in that game thrown away by Sukipan with that misplay that he looked like he realized it as soon as he did it. Like you said, he just probably overthought the turn a little bit and forgot to play the demons to guarantee the Mal'Ganis out. Maybe he forgot that Flame Imp in the 1/1 were...
I think so. I think he
It would
kind
be pulled
of
out.
figured Mal'Ganis would come out, by default. When he saw
Well,
the
I drew it.
combination.
So it's going to come out, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it happens. You tunnel vision. You kind of you remember the combination of cards, then you don't remember to actually see it through. It's happened before. All right, so Snugans with the Shredder, Innervate Shredder, no less.
Yeah, not too bad. Having the creature out there early to fight for board is what Druid needs because they have a lot of tools to stabilize in the mid game, and as long as you just trade for boards early on against a Zoo Warlock and manage to push a little bit of damage through, a lot of times you have the advantage as a druid because you'll be able to combo them out a lot quicker than you would against other classes without having to apply pressure.
Yeah. What's nice is even though he doesn't have, say, a State of Naxxramas or a 3-drop that he wants to play, the Ooze can fill in the role of maybe an extra minion, as you said, to fight for that board. So he's still not out of it, and it's going to curve nicely in Keeper of the Grove. So all he's looking for at this point is another piece of removal, another 4-drop, another 5-drop. And he opts not to play the Ooze because I guess he's afraid of Abusive Sergeant.
Yeah,
That probably is that. I mean, I have to assume that's the case. And now he's going to get a crazy Void Terror.
yeah. I guess it sort of plays around one of the two activators.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if you have Egg and Power Overwhelming in your opening hand as Zoo, it's just good to keep it against Druid because it's such a good way to gain that early tempo. Unless they have like Innervate Keeper to deal with it. Both these players just look super stressed.
Yeah, they look very
Game
tense
5.
right now.
This is Game 5 of a series that's been going on for over an hour, where both players have had sick top decks.
Back to back, yeah.
Misplays. Wow.
I think we need to start manufacturing chill pills and sending them over to the players just to help them calm down a little bit because they really do seem tense. Although Snugans seems to take it in stride somewhat. Sukipan is all over the place. He is praying. I told you. I told you, TJ.
That's how he gets the wild growths. Well, Sukipan still has pretty good board advantage here because he's got a stronger board. He's got initiative now. Implosion plays right into Swipe. So I think Void Caller is going to be the call here.
Nice. I heard that.
This plays into Swipe too, but
you got damage in at least.
What demon's waiting on the other side of that Void Caller is the thing.
You have to silence it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't let... you picked up Sylvanas. Would there be an argument to let it be? No. It's,
no.
There's that. TJ's like, you know what, Nox? I might sometimes, in another universe, agree, but not here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So pick up a swipe, and you're good to go. Or don't pick up a swipe, and...
Wrath for cycle on the Nerubian.
Get a 1-1.
Pick up a swipe, perfect. So this Sylvanas becomes pretty problematic because you can't just trade everything in. You're going to give him at least something.
Well, it's not that. The thing is, yeah, you could probably ignore it almost. The thing is, those Ancients of War are going to start punishing you at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, you could really ignore her. Like if you just taunt up the 2/2s, how does he kill his own Sylvanas before he takes like 12 more damage?
That's true. It doesn't look like there's a lot of damage on this board, but these little smacks that these small creatures are giving you add up over time.
Yeah, I call it the muster for battle symptom. That's you don't realize it, but you know you're dead. It's like it's been 3 turns, you took 10 extra damage you didn't think you'd take, and you're dead.
Yeah, that's why it's always like feels bad when you're a druid and you have to swipe a muster for battle because you're spending a 4-mana card to deal with 3/4 of a 3-mana card. People say, "Oh yeah, it's good that I had to swipe there." In reality, it's not that good.
Alright, so he might be trying to get the 9 damage in. He can get at most 9 if he wants to take it, but he's losing Mal'Ganis and Void Terror.
This is still scary because he can still push lots of damage, so he's very close to killing his opponent.
Yeah, that Sylvanas also not enabled yet, unless a minion dies and triggers her, and then she steals something on the next turn. Oh, well, it's too late. That's a bit too late. You have to hedge your bets on Ancient of War, right?
He can steal Doomguard, throw it into the Imp, then throw the Sylvanas into the Knife Juggler, steal the Void Caller, then Wrath down the Defender of Argus, and Hero Power the Imp.
And live.
Yeah, he'd be at 3 health and there'd be 1 power on the board. But he has to steal the Doomguard.
Step 1. Win the 15%. Like,
it might be his only out. So even if he plays Ancient of War here, if he plays Ancient of War,
he's still dead. Yeah, he's on board anyway.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 6, 15. Yeah, these dead by 2. That doesn't even count where the juggles are going to go.
He
Well,
has to try it
actually,
out. He has to try.
yeah, he's dead. He doesn't even have to use the juggles.
Yeah, just MC Tech and try your luck. What? Well, he's dead.
Might as well uproot it.
I
Yep.
guess. That was a good uproot. Snugans with the smile at the end. Sukipan is relieved. Gets the
Yeah.
win, can finally, well, I guess he seems to be cheering. He's very happy to go through.
Mm.
Congratulations, Sukipan.
Yeah, I do think we need to commend Snugans a bit here because I think he played really well over the course of the 2 matchups that he played. Sukipan as well, and we'll get to him. But Snugans, well played by him because
Yeah.
he thought there was turns. There wasn't really any turns where we were like, I wonder why he would do that. It all sort of pieced together at the end. He just sort of got a little unfortunate, or his decks didn't match up quite as well as he would have hoped against Sukipan. So a close series and well fought.
And I think both players had quite a lot of stress. You could tell from their
Yes.
attitude that they both, seemed really stressed, especially Sukipan. So Snugans, he'll get, the unfortunate usual thing. Better luck next time, but one day he'll make it there.
Yeah, so Snugans still does go away with $75 and 5 Hearthstone World Championship points. That is a lawnmower. And 9 GEICO points as well. So really well played by him.
All right. Well, I know that Domdus is actually back for the next match. This is going to be the match for 3rd place, and he's going to be playing very soon. We'll be casting that as well. So it's not quite over yet.
Yeah, Domdus versus Boxception in 3rd place match. These guys are playing for a couple extra GEICO points as well as $50. So we're going to go to a quick 2-minute break. During the break, guys, make sure you head over to geico.onog.gg if you want more information about the tournament, how the GEICO point system works, and, of course, the upcoming schedule for the remaining qualifiers and the feature tournament. You can also enter in to win your a chance to win an official TSM PC and get your GEICO quote over on that website. So do that during the break, but we're going to go ahead and take 2 minutes before we jump into the 3rd place match between Domdus and Boxception. Don't go anywhere, guys. One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit action continues right after this.